So, it was announced yesterday that Roderick Strong had requested his release from WWE. But just like Mustafa Ali, WWE did not grant it. Now, this was reported by Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp. And when WWE replied, or at least the anonymous source replied to Sean Ross Sapp as to WWE's reasoning for not letting Roderick go, everybody did not believe them. In fact, you could read it through his Twitter page and even probably see him visually do it on his live stream from last night where he reviewed Raw and talked about other stuff. But JD basically laughed this off like it was a big joke. Like, you say you got creative plans in store for Roderick Strong? Oh, you almost got me. And you know why he's laughing it off? The same reason just Alex doesn't believe them. And he's trying to be more sensible about it. Because he sees, like some apparently do, one of the obvious reasons WWE doesn't want to release him. And that's because Alex, along with Solomonster, JD, OTR Central to an extent, Apter, Alvarez, Meltzer, Good Mike Works, Solomonster, I think I mentioned Solomonster, Brian Zane of Wrestling Regret, and the list can go on. No DQ, you name it. The reason, in their opinion, they see WWE keeping him is because they know if they release him, that after his 30, 60-day no-compete clause is over, that he's going to jump ship to AEW and join up with his undisputed brethren, just in time for the cross-promoted pay-per-view Forbidden Door between AEW and New Japan. And to them, WWE doesn't want that, which is why they're keeping him and coming up with the reasoning or excuses some of them look at of, hey, we have him inked in for some creative plans in the near future. And here's why they don't believe any of them. Or any of that, I should say. Here's why they don't believe any of that, period, if you want my opinion. It's because over the past 5 to 10 years, WWE has lost the fans' trust. They have lost the fans' trust, and the fans are not going to give them back that trust until WWE opens their eyes and says, you know what? Let's hear what the fans want to see. Let's hear what they want us to do. And if, let's say, fans come out and say, we want a whole week of nothing but pure pro wrestling action, back to back to back to back, no segments or anything, just back to back to back, pure pro wrestling action, just like on the indies, just like in AEW, just like in Japan. And if WWE was to give it to them, that would start the process of, see, WWE, you gave us some great wrestling, now you're starting to win back our trust. Not completely, but now you're starting to win it. You see, if WWE starts listening to them and say, okay, you want that, we'll give it to you, and they follow through on it, that's the first step. Which is why they don't believe any report coming out of WWE from this anonymous source that WWE is keeping Roderick because they have creative plans for him in the future. They feel that's nothing but a load of BS. I mean, if the creative plans in the future are to call him up to the main roster and he gets immediately put into a high-profile feud with Cody Rhodes, who's looked at as, the number 2, almost tied at number 1 babyface on Monday Night Raw, or if across all of WWE, alongside a heelish tweener face in Roman Reigns. If part of the creative plans for him is to put him into that kind of high-profile feud right off the bat, and feature him well and decently, then okay, that's a first step in saying, and showing that, hey, see, we told you we had plans for him, but you didn't believe us. And that's one way for the fans to be like, okay, that's a good first step, but you got to keep it going. The same thing if, let's say, they made him a surprise challenger for Austin Theory's U.S. Championship and he beat him for it. Or Ricochet's Intercontinental title and he beat him for it. And in either way, he was put on a dominant run and was booked decently to almost to the point that you could believe he could actually go toe-to-toe with someone like Roman and beat him for the title. Beat him for the undisputed title. You see, if WWE follows through on whatever creative plans they have for Roderick, as is reported, and these are plans that are done in a way that the fans actually appreciate and enjoy, and feel is showcasing Roderick, in his abilities at their very best, then that's a first step in regaining their trust, but not completely. Because you see, over the past 5 to almost 10 years, almost a decade, WWE has done so much backtracking on potential promising pushes for superstars, men and women, potential promising storylines that could really change things for the company for the better, or potentially for the better. And because they backtracked it on them, or did a lot of damage to them to where any potential was washed away, any trust the WWE had with any trust the fans, I should say, that they had with the WWE was washed away along with it. And the only way WWE is going to regain that trust is to follow through on what is reported sometimes. I mean, if they come out tomorrow and say Mustafa Ali is going to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal title in an upset beat him, and he's going to go on this long run as champion up to WrestleMania, or even up to, let's say, Survivor Series or Royal Rumble, and they do it in a way that fans enjoy, again, that's one first step to regaining the trust. But because of everything that I just mentioned, all the backtracking, all the damaging, that they've done over the past 5 to 10 years, any trust WWE had with the fans, or any trust they had with WWE, I should say, was washed away, along with all the backtracking and damage that was caused. Which is why when, fans hear that Roderick Strong wants out, and WWE says, no, that's not going to happen because we have you inked, or we have him inked in for some creative plans in the future, they don't believe him because WWE lost their trust. And the only way WWE is going to regain that trust is to basically push Roderick Strong in whatever direction these creative plans have him in, and push him in a very dominant, if not decent way that makes the fans go like, okay, WWE, we believe you now, but this is not, you haven't won our trust completely. You got to keep following through on this with other storylines, other superstars, men and women on your roster all across the board. But that's why they don't believe WWE has the best intentions or best interest for Roderick Strong in the near future with creative plans and whatsoever, because they lost that trust. And the only way they can regain that trust back is to do exactly what they say they have in store for Roderick. But will they? We'll have to see. Will they finally just decide, oh, you know what, he wants out, fine, we'll let him out. And let's say after Backlash, he's released. Then that's good too. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below, live chat during the premiere, and I am out.